sound of Liverpool.
Paul Beesley.
BBC Radio Merseyside.
It is 22 minutes after 10 o'clock. Now, if you love your local history, you're going to absolutely love this next chat, and I most definitely am. Brunanburh in Wirral has for centuries been thought to be the location of one of the most important battles fought in medieval England. And why, I hear you ask, was this battle so important? Well, it was the event that brought England into existence. It was that important. To tell us more about this event and to launch the book Finding the Battle of Brunanburh, Steve Harding, who is Professor Emeritus of Applied Biochemistry, Knight of Norway and Fellow of the British Biophysical Society, is with me now in the studio. And also we've got Paul Cavill, Honorary Associate Professor of the University of Nottingham. Gentlemen, I am in esteemed company today. Both of you. Paul on the line. It's good to know you with us. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Good to know. And we've got Steve in the studio. Paul, I'm going to start with you because you're on the phone line today. Tell us about the battle. People will have maybe heard this battle name in passing, but they won't know an awful lot about it. Was it as big as in terms of importance as the Battle of Hastings or the Battle of Bosworth Field? Where does it all fit in? Tell us about it, Paul.
Okay, well, in 937, in the reign of King Athelstan, Athelstan was a very effective king, and he wanted to control the whole of Britain, and indeed he came to do so in at least in England. But there were other kingdoms in Britain that weren't quite so keen on that. So there was a kingdom of Alba, or Scotland, King Constantine, and King Owain, who was King of Strathclyde, roughly between Glasgow and Lancashire. And then there was King Anlaf of Dublin, and he wanted to be King of York, the old Viking kingdom of York. And these three got together to try and crush Athelstan and all his ambition. And that happened in 937. So if this hadn't happened, we'd probably be speaking Norse if King Anlaf had taken over and controlled the country from York southwards.
The thing that gets me is, I mean, history these days, we people like you and people like Steve who are sitting in front of me at the moment, there is such in-depth research on these things, but we're not 100% sure about where this battle took place, are we? Why is there so much confusion about it, Paul?
Well, it depends where you start from, really, because most people who write about it start from the idea that the coalition armies wanted to control York, so they suppose that the whole project was to take over the Kingdom of York. But there's two reasons why that's not so. One is that none of the 50-odd medieval sources mention York, and if it had been York, you'd have expected at least one of them to say something like that. And the other was that getting Anlaf as King of York was not really what Constantine and Owain wanted. They wanted to crush Athelstan. So they've started from the idea that York was the objective, and they worked backwards from that. And so they look for almost any place name beginning with B and say, well, that's got to be Brunanburh. Whereas we start from the very beginning and say, what did the text tell us? And they tell us that it wasn't in York or about York. And we start from the name. And what is the ancestor of Brunanburh? Well, it's Brunanburh. And it all the other names that have been supposed, so Birrenswick or Wallace or Brinsworth or Bourne or Burnley or Brownie or Bromswold or any of these, and there are lots more than that, people assume that anything beginning with B could be Brunanburh.
Yeah, I can see where the great thing in our favour is that we've got you and Steve on our side to say it was in Brunanburh. Steve, I'll come back to you in a moment, Paul, if I may. But Steve, I want to turn to you. Let's leave aside for just one moment about the confusion or the debate about where the battle was. The battle took place.
It did, yeah.
What is the most important part of the battle for you? What interests you the most about it?
Well, I'm slightly biased. I'm a Wirral man myself, and in answer to the why Brunanburh was lost, why such an important battle got lost, and there's various theories around. What we think is that at the time in the early 10th century, 2 generations before, there was a Viking colonization of Wirral, a peaceful colonization due to deal with between the leader of the Norsemen, Ingemund, and Ethelfled, the Queen of the Mercian English. That was peaceful or largely peaceful. And by the time of Brunanburh, there was sort of a good sort of Anglo-Scandinavian coming together. For example, Chester was developing as a very important financial centre, an Anglo-Scandinavian financial centre. So the last thing they wanted was a huge battle of what they saw as foreign armies coming in, a new wave of Vikings, Scots, Mercians, and Wessex English from the south coming together. So when it was all over, it was in their interest to sort of, keep it quiet. Don't mention the war. Draw an analogy with the Faulty Towers thing. Yeah. So that's why we think the battle. The battle got sort of, or the location got forgotten about. Yeah,
this is so interesting. Listen, we've got so much to uncover here. Are you okay to stay for a few moments, Steve? I'm going to play a tune because I know you brought some artifacts in, and I'm desperate to look at these artifacts. So let's have a bit of music, and we're going to come back to Steve and Paul because this is really interesting. This and not. I mean, I love my local history. Those of you who know me know that. But the fact that such an important battle in the history of England could have taken place right on our doorstep. BBC Radio Merseyside, Bezo sitting in for Snelly today. And we're talking at the moment about the Battle of Brunanburh, one of the most important battles in the history of England. And could it have taken place right here in Merseyside in Brunanburh? Well, I've got Steve Harding, Professor Emeritus in Applied Biochemistry, Knight of Norway, Fellow of the British Biophysical Society with me in the studio. And I'm going to come in a few moments to Paul Cavill, Honorary Associate Professor at the University of Nottingham. Steve, we were talking, well, we've gone through the sort of the history of it all. You've actually brought some artifacts in with you today, haven't you?
I have, yes. Yeah.
Tell us about them.
Well, the reason why the artifacts are important because we're trying to locate the battle and show that in all probability it took place on Wirral. I think most scholars agree with that. There are scholars that have doubts and think it might have occurred elsewhere, for example, Yorkshire. But and what we've done with a study which has been just published in a book called Finding Brunanburh is we try to put all the evidence together, the historical and the archaeological scientific evidence together to show that the battle probably took place on Wirral, and what we need to do to prove beyond any doubt that it is.
Yeah, because if you're living in this world of history and you're both academics, I guess at the end of the day, it's evidence which is going to make all the difference. Are you saying that these artifacts will help that evidence to say, yes, it was in Brunanburh?
Certainly. I think without these artefacts and the analysis we're doing on them, the evidence is pretty strong, mainly with the place name evidence, which Paul is an expert on. He's already mentioned that the old name for Brunanburh was Brunanburh. And also there's another name called Dingsmere in the Anglo-Saxon poem, which no one quite knew. And 20 years ago, Paul and I and our colleague Judith Jess came out with this suggestion that it was linked to the Thing of Thingwall, because Thingwall is the...
Got you. So what have you got with you today,
right.
Steve?
So Wirral Archaeology CIC have done brilliant work in surveying an area, which we think is the likely site if the battle, if it took place on Wirral, and they've found a number of amazing artifacts. Now I've just brought 4, which we think link with not necessarily the Battle of Brunanburh, but the Viking Age.
Sure.
So this, listeners can't see this, but that is either a lead weight or lead gaming piece that was found at Bebington Heath. Now, this would have been used by Vikings, perhaps, and Viking armies. But we've had this chemically analysed using what's called isotope testing, and it provenances with a set of similar objects from Birka in Sweden.
Right, okay.
And this is interesting because, Birka, the root name for Birka is birch trees, and Bebington's near Birkenhead, which has got the same roots. So
Headland of birches, exactly.
That.
Yeah.
So that's good. And then close by was found this. Oops, there we go. This coin.
Wow.
It's called a dirham, which originates from the Middle East. I think that one comes from Baghdad. But the Vikings used this. They acquired these by trade, we think, and they used these as sort of currency. Not the value of the coins themselves, but the weight in silver of these things. So that was found close by, and also there are various metal objects which were found as well nearby. That's what we call a tanged arrowhead, and this one here is part of a blade. You might see a little hole.
Yeah, it's a tiny little hole near the top
that's
of
not
it.
The original. I'm afraid that's what we've been drilling through.
Oh, I see. Right,
to do the
analysis.
Analysis. Now, what's just showing from the Viking Age or from Vikings isn't enough because there are other conflicts going on. What's going to clinch it is if we can show by our analyses a significant number of objects that derive from Scotland.
Right.
Because what distinguishes the Battle of Brunanburh from other Viking conflicts is the Scots were involved too. And in the study, in the book, we've established a protocol.
Right.
How we're going to, or how it's going to be done.
I'm going to go back to Paul. Paul, listen, I've got two esteemed academics in front of me. Steve's in the studio. You're on the line. I want you to tell me now, in your opinion, in your academic opinion, was the Battle of Brunanburh fought in what we now call Brunanburh?
In the region of Brunanburh, yeah, I'm absolutely convinced. What hasn't happened is that any people just writing about it just poo-poo the idea. They don't ever mount an academic argument. So they just say, oh, this is implausible, or it's the wrong area, or something like that. So what we've done is start from first principles and say, what does the evidence tell us? And how can this be a significant contribution to the debate about where the battle took place?
Brilliant. Well, listen, if people want to read more about this, you guys have produced a book, haven't you, Paul? Finding the Battle of Brunanburh. It's been published by the University of Chester. How can people get hold of a copy, Paul?
They can get it from the publisher. There's Amazon has got it, and we're going to be doing several events around Wirral to launch the book and indeed elsewhere. So sign up for one of these events. Steve's got the details. Lingham's bookstore is going to do an event, and we're planning another one in the libraries around Wirral. So
brilliant. Listen, Paul. I mean, as someone who's interested in local history myself, this is just absolutely wonderful. It really is, Paul. I really want to thank you for coming on the line today and for telling us all about the Battle of Brunanburh. Thank you, Steve, for coming into the studio.
Thanks, Paul,
and especially for bringing the artifacts with you as well.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to having a read of this book as well.
Yeah. If anyone's got any queries, can we give a website or an email?
Absolutely, please do. Yeah, please do.
Well, steve.harding@nottingham.ac.uk.
Perfect. There we go. steve.harding@nottingham.ac.uk. Steve Harding, Paul Cavill, thank you so much for coming in today. We're going to claim it as ours.
I think so.
Absolutely. Thanks very much to the two of them for coming in today. If you want to read that book, just look for it online, Finding the Battle of Brunanburh, and keep an eye out for the events that are going to be happening across the world. You can get along and find out a little bit more, or check out Steve's website that he's just given you there, and you'll find more information, or you can ask questions as well. It's BBC Radio Merseyside on a Tuesday morning.